The beginning of conference play against the Memphis Tigers. And Rosenblum dents the scoreboard. A grand slam! Swung and a miss, strike three. Bryce Archie just dialing up the heater. Called strike three. Wow. What a slide! I'd say striking out Riley Steen. What a victory.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of Thirsty Thursdays of Bruin at McEwen Production. I am your host this evening, or this morning, John Kaplan, and I'm here with El Presidente, Mark Giardino. How you doing, bud?
I'm doing well, man. I'm excited to talk about the midweek game and look ahead to what's coming up on the schedule.
Before we get there, I just want to give a little friendly reminder to like, follow, and rate the show wherever you do follow us and listen. A 5-star rating would mean a lot to us. But let's hear more about that midweek game against Bethune Cookman, Mark.
Yeah, so Bulls went out to Daytona Beach last night. They played against Bethune Cookman, a team from the SWAC, who was pretty low in the RPI coming into the night. I think they were like 250 out of like 300. So it's a game that you expect to win, that you really need to win if you're, a team that's looking to potentially get an at-large bid for an NCAA tournament. So luckily we did pull it off. It probably was way closer than it should have been. But there's a lot of positives to take from this game, despite how close it was. I think the biggest positive is that you finally got to see Dominic Madonna get the results that we've been saying he's capable of getting. We've been saying the last couple of weeks, like from when I saw him in person, he's throwing like 94 miles an hour. His curveball looks like it's moving well. And we're kind of like scratching our head, like, how are the results not there? But finally, we saw it come to fruition last night. 5 innings, 6 strikeouts, 1 walk, only 1 earned run. He was in line for the win when he left the game. Just a really good performance by the 5th-year senior transfer from UNF. So really good to see him getting back on track. And then we also got to see Lawson Gailey just continue to pitch really well. 2 1/3 innings, no runs, 4 strikeouts, no walks. I mean, Lawson Gailey, the last few outings that I've seen him pitch, it looks like he's playing a video game on easy mode. Like, he really has amazing command of that splitter changeup thing that just pulls the string on opposing hitters. He's commanding his fastball and his curveball as well. I love to see that for him. He was very effective as a true freshman, and it just seems to be continuing into his sophomore season. And from the offensive standpoint, I think we had some pretty noteworthy performances. I think for Marcus Brodell to just continue his contributions to the team now that he's getting some playing time, hitting that home run early, getting 3 RBIs. And then Jackson Mayo just continues his 9th inning heroics. A guy who hit a walk-off home run earlier this season now hits a go-ahead home run in the top of the 9th inning to get the Bulls a 6-5 lead heading into the bottom of the 9th. So those were some of the biggest things that stood out to me. All right, John, so do you have any thoughts from watching last night's game?
Yeah, no, I really just like how we're seeing continued production from kind of what we're seeing as like a nucleus forming for us that we all knew existed. It's a multi-headed monster that consists of, Drew Butcher, Ben Rosenblum, and one of the newer additions is Stuart Puckett. He's got the ability to play multiple positions in the infield, and his bat, you just can't keep him out of the lineup. I don't remember the last time he had a single hit day. I mean, even with Montez not registering a hit on the day, he's also included in that. I would call it a five-headed monster with Jackson Mayo being the fifth in there. I really like the fact that we're staying aggressive on the base pass. I believe we were 7 for 9 on the night, which just continues that aggressive mindset. And I just really want to see more of the same. I'm really excited to see what we do this weekend.
Yeah, definitely. Thinking about the upcoming weekend, we'll get into that later in the show. But before that, I wanted to kind of talk about some team stats and kind of give a more high-level overview of some trends that we're seeing, whether that be trends with the team as a whole or trends with some specific players. So one thing that's really standing out to me right now for the Bulls is the offense has really made a lot of strides. I think in terms of their approach, and I think you can attribute some of that to the fact that we do have 2 new coaches on the staff, which is a new hitting coach. I think Alan Kunkel plays a big role in helping the hitters, and I think Cates and Johns do a little bit as well. But what I'm seeing is that our team strikeout rate has really lowered. I remember when we used to, do podcasts in 2022, 2023, we would always talk a lot about how our team strikeout rate's really high. It's part of the reason why we were losing games. We're just, not putting the ball in play. But now we have the 4th lowest strikeout rate in the 10-team AAC at 19%. And we also have the 2nd highest walk rate. So we're walking a lot and we're striking out less. And that is a really positive trend for this team. We're actually first in the AAC in strikeout to walk ratio for hitters, which means that for every walk we draw, we're only striking out 1.4 times. Whereas the worst team in the AAC at this, which is UTSA, for every walk they draw, they're striking out 2.5 times. That's an additional strikeout for every walk. So we are the best team in the AAC on that metric right now, strikeouts to walks, which really means, like I said, the approach has been refined. You're looking at players on our team that are focusing more on driving the ball back up the middle and passing the baton. And when you have guys that have strength and athleticism, when they just focus on, putting the ball in play, and it's still gonna result in extra base hits because we have strong guys that are athletic. It's not like they can only hit seeing eye singles. So I really like the way that our team has evolved their offensive approach at the plate since the last couple of seasons, and I think that can really be attributed to, obviously, player development and a refinement and approach. And we're also 2nd in the AAC, only behind Wichita State in weighted on base average, which is basically like OPS. It's basically saying like how effective is your team at being productive at the plate. And ours is 397. Wichita State's is 398. And the worst team in the conference at this is Rice, who's at 322. So we're pretty far ahead of those other teams as well. So a lot of good strides for the offense. So that's what I've seen in terms of an interesting positive trend for the Bulls on offense. And then a couple other trends. I think there's some players on the roster that are really trending up lately. I think one guy that really needs to get a shout out is Nick Pineda, who is a transfer from Hillsborough Community College. He has pitched 7 innings so far. He's had 22 batters faced, and he's only allowed 1 hit. So that's really impressive for a guy that really didn't even appear until the 3rd or 4th week of the season. So I think he's really starting to play a pivotal role in the bullpen as a setup man. He's going to really be used in high leverage spots because of how effective he's been on the mound. And in addition to that, another player that I think is trending in the right direction is Matt Brown, the right-handed pitcher originally from Canada, who pitched at St. Pete College last year. He initially, in the first few weeks of the season, he was getting some Sunday starts, and those went all right. But I think this past week, he made a midweek start against Florida Gulf Coast where he did pretty well, 3 1/3, only gave up 1 run, and then he made a high leverage bullpen appearance on Sunday when the Bulls were, I think, only leading by a run, or it was a very close game. And we were up by 2, I think, and he only gave up 1 run in 1 2/3. But overall, he looked good. He commanded. His command was improved from what I've seen in the past, and he has stuff that really plays. I mean, he throws 94. He's got a good curveball. So when he's in the zone, he's a definitely not an easy at bat for anyone on the other team. So it's really good to see he's trending in the right direction. And then we've already talked about him a decent amount, but Marcus Brodell has really been huge for the Bulls, especially with Bobby Bozer being hurt. Man, we really needed somebody to come in and give us some power production. With Bobby Bozer, you can count on him to hit a couple home runs per week. And with Marcus Brodell stepping in and I think hitting 2 home runs in the past week, he's basically replicating Bobby's production, which is huge. This team needed that desperately to keep on a winning track. So I can't say enough about Marcus Brodell and what he's doing.
Yeah, I agree 100%. We've seen flashes of brilliance from Brodell that Matt mentioned on top of the order earlier this week. So I'd love to see more of that because it's really creating a new identity for us, an identity that is going to carry us into our next in-conference matchup against Charlotte. Mark, what do you know about Charlotte? From what I've seen, they've kind of been all over the place. I don't know that they really have an identity yet. So what have you seen?
Yeah, so Charlotte is an interesting team. As a program, they've done well the last few years under this current head coach. I think this is his 5th season with them. Last year, they won I think it was the Conference USA tournament, and they made it to the regional, and they made it to the regional final against Tennessee, and ultimately lost that. But that's a really good season to make it to basically the final 32 teams in the country. So they definitely have a solid program there, but they lost a lot of those guys from that team. They had to bring in, I think it was 29 to 30 new players this season, combination from high school, junior college, D1 transfers. So they're completely a new look team. And their season so far, I think it's been okay. I think they're a couple games under 500 actually, which is a little below where they're normally at. But in terms of that team as an identity, I think I've actually watched them play a couple of times. And what I see with their batting order is, this was just from watching them, not from even knowing any stats. They seem to be taking like donkey hacks, honestly, just huge cuts. It almost seems like every guy is trying to be a hero. And then I looked at the stats, and they do have the highest or second highest strikeout rate at the plate of any team in the AAC. So the eye test met the stats with that one. So I think that there will be some opportunity for our pitchers to rack up some strikeouts if they can, command their stuff. So that's kind of what I've noticed with their offense, which really hasn't been that great for them this year. Their batting average as a team is pretty low. They only have one guy that has an OPS over 1,000. His name is Thad Ector. He's a transfer from the College of Central Florida up here in Ocala. But he's doing pretty well for them. He plays in the outfield. He's a left-handed hitter. I think he hits like leadoff or second. But their team leader in home runs is Juan Correa, who's also a JUCO transfer. He has got 6 home runs, also leads the team in RBIs. He's their first baseman. And that's kind of like the highlights of their batting order. But I think the one thing that does stand out about Charlotte that is a positive for them is their pitchers definitely have stuff. I think they have the highest strikeouts per 9 for any pitching staff in the AAC. They absolutely can strike you out. I think our hitters are going to really need to respect the stuff that's going to be coming from these pitchers. A lot of them throw in the mid 90s. A lot of them have some nice breaking balls. There's a few pitchers on their end that have already been really effective, having really good seasons, mostly from their bullpen. I think their starting pitching has been okay. But one guy that really stands out is their closer, Tony Rossi. He throws between 95, 98 miles an hour with an 86 mile per hour breaking ball. He's already got 4 saves, and I think his ERA is like 1 something, 2 something. So he's definitely a threat. They have a couple other guys in the bullpen that have been pretty effective for them as well. So I think what I'm seeing is, to me, it looks like a coach or a team that really recruits the athlete. I think that they have a lot of guys with good size, good athleticism. Obviously, that's why many of them throw in the 90s. They have some good power numbers from their previous schools. But with all these new players, I think what I saw when I watched them on TV is they almost seem like they're kind of playing for themselves. Not trying to bash them by any means. It's just what I see. So I think that if our guys can continue to do what they're doing, just focus on team baseball, focus on passing the baton, focus on driving the ball at the middle, focus on, really just, again, passing the bat to the next guy and letting our speed on the bases and our base running and all of those other elements take hold. I think that we can have a lot of success offensively. And I think that from a pitching standpoint, if our guys just do their thing, I think some of these overly aggressive Charlotte hitters will, be able to be contained to a certain extent, although they are at home and they will be in an environment they're familiar with. So it's just something to keep in mind.
All right. Thanks for that preview, Mark. We're going to close it out here in similar fashion with our last call. And in doing so, I just wanted to take a minute to give a special shout out to the SoFlo Rodeo. They are the student body associated with USF Athletics that everyone is overly familiar with. While they may primarily be associated with, basketball and football to the common eye, in having conversations with some of the founding members, their vision goes far beyond that. The core group of these students responsible for bringing this group together and creating this vision, they all come from different sport backgrounds with aspirations to grow this group's passion and outreach to all of USF athletics, all encompassing. So for me, as a 2-time graduate from USF, this is the culture that I have always personally envisioned for our athletic program, and especially, our baseball program. Since joining on with you guys, my passion's just grown exponentially for USF baseball as well. In saying that, I do have one last important announcement. Mark, I wanted to kick it to you to see what knowledge you had on SoFlo Rodeo and their contribution to USF culture.
Yeah, no, the SoFlo Rodeo has been really awesome. From my understanding, it was actually an organization that was started by a student at Grand Canyon University who had originally at that school, he had started like a fan group that was really supporting the basketball team and making it real more organized and, chants and cheers and all those kind of things. And, this guy became so much of an expert, I guess, in growing fan support that at some point a couple of years ago, I think USF got in touch with him and kind of helped consult on bringing that culture to USF. And, USF has found some students at the school that were willing to kind of lead that group at USF, and they've done a really good job with that. And you saw it here in this past basketball season where, we had everybody wearing the slime green. They were chanting, doing events, pretty awesome stuff. And it's really great to see that here at USF, because I used to go to games when I was here 10 years ago, where, the student section would be thin or people would be asleep on their phones, like not really what you want to see. But nowadays it's much better. And I'm excited to hear that this group of students and fans is interested in bringing this to USF baseball the rest of the season. I think it would be awesome, if they could just focus on one day a week to say, hey, Saturday is our day for the rodeo to come out and, just bring that rowdy environment that they typically bring to basketball. I think it'd be awesome. But yeah, John, I'll kick it back to you on that.
For sure. So, in talking about bringing that environment to, the Red, Mark and I have been in contact with several of the SoFlo Rodeo founding members per se, and we have been trying to organize, kind of linking up together on a tailgate. Well, I can officially say that we are going to be making this happen. We are going to be linking up with SoFlo Rodeo on Saturday, April 6th for the home game against Wichita State. We are going to be having the tailgate that day at 11 a.m. A lot more details to come on that. But even more exciting, Mark, is just kind of like getting to see what we've envisioned for so long for this program just to come to fruition. And what better of an environment, for it to be in than Siebert City Day. The kids got more passion for any amount of people we can put in the seats. He's going to be ready for the environment. We're going to be bringing the heat from all angles, and I'm so excited to see, what this starts in terms for SoFlo's representation with USF baseball moving forward as well. So that does it for another week here on Thirsty Thursdays. We thank you all for listening and for your support, and we look forward to seeing what the Bulls do against Charlotte this weekend. As always, go Bulls and horns up.
Go Bulls.